talked about it earlier this morning, and we were talking about, this case with the Flores, Paul and his father, Ruben. And do you think that the trial will be held in SLO County? This is our SurfNet Communications poll question at KZOZ.com. And it looks like most people, to a tune of 80% say no. And that is, can he get a fair trial?
Wow.
Can they get a fair trial in a place where this has been a story with billboards and news stories and podcasts? And everybody knows everything about this for the most part, I would say. I don't think there's anybody you could walk down the street that lives here 5, 10 years at least and to say, hey, do you know who Kristen Smart is?
No, it's true.
Do you know who Paul Flores is? Oh, that sounds familiar.
The one thing that you could make an argument for is the amount of people that have moved here from other areas and the amount of people that have moved away from the area in the past couple of years is kind of big. So if somebody is new to the area, that would make them a good jury candidate, right?
I see.
But
that the defense, this is probably the first thing they're going to do is ask for a change of venue because of the fact that it happened here and it's been such a story. And, Jeff and I were talking about earlier how we'd like to have it here. It would be great for this area. I know it sounds crazy, but plus, it just feels like it feels like it should be resolved here. It's going to feel weird if it's resolved somewhere else, but I think resolution is what most people are looking for. Boy, some of the comments I saw just throughout Facebook and yesterday, and there's a lot of people that are super angry and talk about ending a genetic code and end the life. Like that guy wrote in about you. This is way worse. The things that people are saying, vulgar language. I get that people are frustrated, but when you see stuff like that, you just wonder if it could be. So 80% of people right now don't think it's going to happen. 20% say yes, it is. Jim wrote in earlier and he says, gosh, remember what happened with the Michael Jackson trial in Santa Maria and how crazy that was?
I don't, because it was right before we moved here.
That's what I wrote. I said BMT, before my time. He didn't know what that meant. I don't know.
I didn't know what that meant.
I might have just made it up. I'm just trying to be cool. I'm trying to be woke and BMT.
That was a good one, Jeremy. I like that.
But, well, Willie wasn't that hard. But anyways, he said people that had homes near the courthouse, it was like when the fair comes to town on is that Railroad Road? What is that street in front of the fair where everybody charges you to park in front of their house and in their yard? Oh, I forget the name of that street in Paso. You should know that, because you live there now.
Mike just wrote in. He says he heard on Court TV yesterday that the trial will be televised on Court TV.
That would be great.
Wow.
That would be great. Anyways.
That's crazy.
You can let us know what you think, 805-543-3693. But Jim brought up the fact that, people were selling, space to news trucks. And, you think a network comes in, you're charging top dollar, whatever you think you can get, highest bidder type stuff.
Didn't Michael Jackson...
I would get together with the neighborhood and say, yeah, we're going to sell this $1,000 a day.
Didn't Michael Jackson get on the roof of the limousine and start
No, it was one friends? It might have been a news van or some other kind of van. A buddy of mine was down there. He was standing on top of somebody's RV or something like that, and he said Michael Jackson looked right at him and gave him the peace sign. This
is different because it's not there's no celebrities involved in this.
But this would bring a lot to town, and it would be great because it'd be great for the town. It'd be great for the economy and tourism and all that kind of stuff. But people would probably see this place and go, "Wow, I want to go there." But at the same time, we got to remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about a murder trial. We got John on, and apparently he remembers the Michael Jackson trial when it was down in Santa Maria. Go ahead, man. John.
I worked right down the street from the courthouse, and all day long there would be 4 or 5 helicopters overhead. Jeez. All day long. And if you went to lunch downtown, which is on Main and Broadway, they would frequent the places to go to lunch. And like California Sushi right there on Main, they would always go in there, Michael and all the entourage, and you'd see him at the stoplights, and it was nuts.
Wait, Michael crazy. Jackson was going into the local sushi place?
Yeah. California Sushi right there on Main next to Wiener Schnitzel, I think it is, in Santa Maria.
Wow.
Yeah, he would go into they would go for their lunch breaks, and it'd be like an hour and a half, 2 hour lunch breaks, and they would go to the local different restaurants. And you would see them there was always a black like Yukon XL, and mostly tinted windows, but you'd see him sitting inside, and it was very, you know, it was like you said, it was a circus-like atmosphere.
He would eat his lunch inside the car?
I didn't say, no, I never saw him, but he would actually go in the sushi place.
I wonder if they shut the sushi place down just for him.
I don't know. They would do that a lot for him. Like Toys R Us would open up for him late at night. And he'd take kids and
that's a bad look. Bad look. I mean, what you were on trial for, and you were shopping at the Toys R Us at nighttime?
No. Well, he would do that beforehand. This was like
before he got caught. He was buying them toys.
Oh, okay.
I worked at a record store in Woodland Hills in the 80s called Licorice Pizza Records, and he would come in there, and he would always have a little boy with him. Nobody thought anything of it. But it was, and you know, he got to know us, and we left him alone because he was just kind of a weird cat. But it was different times. But in Santa Maria, when that trial was on, it was nuts. The helicopters all day long going over and over.
Hey, in your recollection of that time in Santa Maria, was it good for business or was it bad for business?
Well, if you owned a hotel, it was great because all the hotels were packed. Especially like the ones in Shell Beach. That's where all the world news. Like Matt Lauer stayed at the Cliffs. And all that type of stuff, right? Those
oh, my God. Can you imagine the stories from the employees at the Cliffs, Matt Lauer, the young girls, probably getting locked in rooms?
I wouldn't doubt it. But and then the surrounding restaurants, they would be packed too. But the big thing that happened was around the courthouse, if you owned a house, like you were talking about a little bit, house or the lawyer, there's a lawyer down there, I forget his name, and a couple of them own houses directly across from the courthouse. Well, they were renting out their rooftops for the news media to set up cameras on top of their roofs. It was nuts.
Don't you wish you lived downtown still, Jeff?
No. You'd have to have a pretty powerful camera from where I lived.
You have a huge backyard, though. They could stage back there.
No.
You had like a little orchard down. Jeff lived downtown and had a little orchard in his backyard. I mean, he had a huge piece of property. But anyways, all right. Well, hey, thanks, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, I can only imagine what that was like. I remember watching it on TV, not even knowing that I was going to move here one day, because this happened a few years before we moved down here. And I think the only reason I even knew what this place was or had heard of it was because of that trial.
Really?
And I remember Santa Maria going, oh, I know Santa Maria.
Because of the
I don't know what
Jackson.
the San Luis Obispo is. Yeah. That's what everybody told me it was called.
I mean, technically, it's probably San Luis. But we call it San Luis.
But do we get anything right?
Have you ever told somebody you're from San Luis and they're like, oh, Missouri?
I can't say that's happening. Hey, James, thanks for hanging on, man.
It says here you want to talk to Mark and Jeremy.
Yeah, I was maintenance at the courthouse in Santa Maria just a couple years after that all went down.
Who's your favorite out of Mark and Jeremy? Hold on a second, James. Who's your favorite out of Mark and Jeremy?
It's got to be you.
It's got to be
I'm
me.
not a wine drinker.
Okay. Oh, so Mark?
Yeah. I mean, if I had to pull a favorite, you guys kind of come together in the package. So
yeah, no, that's very true. But his name's not Mark; it's Jeff.
So
I'm sorry.
Way off.
That's terrible because it's my brother's name. So
no, it's okay. We get called Mark and Brian. We get called Jeff and Jer.
My kids call me Jeremy sometimes.
Sometimes we get Jeff.
They've never called me Mark, though, James. That's the first time.
As you can see my face right now.
It's all right, Jim. All right.
It's okay, Bill.
Did you want me to go on, or are we on pause?
No, I want you to go on. I want you to. You were calling in to tell us that you used to work down there, huh?
Yeah, when I got down there, the county was telling me what happened there, and they said they did relatively about $1 million worth of damage to the landscape. And they had news cameras that just went up the tree there in the parking lot and built a platform, put their camera up there and their equipment, and it was just like no bars hold. They rented houses across the street for quite a bit of money to stay. And then when he came down to the judge, he came in his pajamas that day, and the judge got mad. He wanted to play that he was sick. And he told him he's got to come to court. So when he was walking up to, I think it was apartment 9, going up the stairs, the county guy said all the maintenance, and everybody had to stand against the wall. He didn't want anybody touching him. He walked up through the middle. So it was bizarre.
Yeah, that's I forgot that about Michael Jackson. He was wearing a mask before Corona.
Oh yeah, he wore it all the time. Yeah,
before anybody was worried about getting sick.
He needed more vitamin D, apparently.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. They said the judge kept all the sketch renderings as personal art, hung them in his house. So, and the stuff continued on. The weird stuff.
Not really.
After he passed, I was in charge of evidence rooms, and we had one of them flood. So I went in there to pick up the box.
Hey, do me a favor, would you, Bill?
Lift your phone up.
Just talking to the mouthpiece. Yeah, you keep going away, and it's hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, anyways, I was in charge of the evidence rooms. We had to go in there, pick up the boxes off the ground. I didn't realize there were so many Jackson versus so and so. Jackson versus so-and-so. But later when he died, they didn't know what to do with the evidence. So I'd left the job before we figured out what to do. So we had stacks and stacks of boxes. I never peeked in, but lots of names.
What did they do with it then? Did they just burn it?
I never got to find out. I got laid off, and I never got to find out what they were doing. They were perplexed. I didn't know what to do.
I bet you called somebody by the wrong name, and they're like, get rid of that Bill guy.
That was it.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
All right, thanks a lot.
It's like Facebook without the consequences.
What'd you do? Breaking stuff?
No, this thing just falls apart. It's a piece of crap. I'm talking about my console. The buttons just fly off. Come on, man.
You should really wear a belt.
A belt? Why?
Because I felt like you were over there doing some plumbing work when you bent down to get that.
Did you see crack?
Why wouldn't you wear a belt?
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. The original social media. Weekday mornings 6 to 10.
I'm old school.
On 93.3 KZOZ Rocks.
You guys are my favorite.
They didn't do the Flores trial here in San Luis Obispo. Where would it go? Couldn't go to Santa Maria. That's still too close. Santa Barbara, probably still too close. Maybe Los Angeles. Would it be tried down there? I mean, would that make sense? Bakersfield? I don't know. Bakersfield might still be too close. Maybe it goes north and somewhere up in the Bay Area. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
How upset is KSBY going to be if it's not tried here?
Well, so they can't stand.
They don't have the resources
outside their studio up on the hill and act like they're somewhere else, but they're really just outside the studio, like outside the building, like they stepped outside the door
on the scene.
You know, I shouldn't tease them because we're radio. We do stuff all the time that makes it sound like we're doing something else, but really we're just right here because nobody can see us.
But I mean, like, that's kind of a bummer for them if the change of venue, because dude, they're not going to be able to have the resources or the finance.
Because they don't have the staff or the budget.
Somebody to Orange County for months.
Oh, they will though. I bet you they will. No, at least one person. But if it was here, they would have multiple people to be able to do it. And Court TV. Somebody wrote in this morning. They said they saw on Court TV that they're going to be covering this trial. But how is that even possible? Because the judge, nothing has been said. They're supposed to be arraigned today. Like right now, they're being arraigned.
Yeah,
it was 8:30 this morning.
Set the parameters on that.
They have to decide if that's going to happen.
If it's a
little premature.
If they end up hearing it somewhere else, I'm sure the defense is going to be like, we don't want cameras there.
So whoever wrote that in, I have a feeling that Court TV wants to be there, and if they can, they will be. But nothing's been decided yet.
Said something along the lines of, "We'll try to do everything in our power to bring this case to you."
Arraigned at 8:30 this morning. They're probably being arraigned right now, and then we have a long ways to go before we know what's going to happen with this. But I wonder, maybe this would be a good Stolberg question. Maybe we'll call Jeff and ask him some questions. I'm just curious in time frame what it would be. Now, Jeff doesn't like give us an answer unless he does homework, so we may not get to this today. But Aaron's on the phone. He wanted to jump in. Go ahead, man.
Hey, I was curious if you got called up for jury duty and you knew it was the Chris Smart trial, would you want to be in it?
Oh, yeah, I definitely would want to be in it. But that would be tough with this job.
I know.
I don't know if I could be in it.
Yeah. That would be fascinating, though, I think. It'd be almost like an OJ trial in a sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm very fascinated with this, like, crime mysteries.
What about you, Jeff? Would you want to be at the trial?
No, I don't ever. I don't have 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I don't know how long it could take.
Well, you don't understand, too. Thanks for the call, Aaron.
Set aside and to be immersed in a trial. Plus, I don't want to know all the details.
No, but you already do. You've heard the podcast.
No, that's not.
There's going to be more details.
There's details.
But there's already a lot of graphics and details.
Evidence there.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, they have some more, but how much more do they really have?
And if I've heard the podcast, likely I'm not going to be a candidate for the jury.
Ooh. Yeah. So if they ask me if I get jury duty.
Listen to the podcast.
You listen to the pod? No. No, I can't do that. You don't want to do that. But, I mean, I'm so fascinated with this kind of stuff. And I've really been into it lately. And I've been talking about this 411 stuff I've been watching online with David Paulides and missing people. And I don't know. I'm just really into the investigative
stuff on Facebook about it.
About what?
Like other people are into the 411.
Oh, no. It's people are getting into it.
I thought this was just a Jeremy thing.
Yeah, it was like a Bigfoot thing. No, it's not.
On YouTube?
He has a channel on YouTube, and he talks about missing people that have gone missing in national parks.
Is it on a different network, like a streaming service or something?
You can also watch these on Netflix and Amazon Prime, his movies. He did a couple of movies, documentary-type style movies, and then they're on YouTube as well, I think. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to do it. See, here's the thing. You have so many other things going on in your life, and you have kids. This would be it would be really a nuisance on you to have to be sit on a jury like this. For me, if I could come to work and then show up like at not maybe miss an hour of the show, go in at 9:00 and do the jury thing for the day, I'm all about it. I did one jury a couple years ago, and it was a really boring story about a 89-year-old woman who rear-ended a 90-year-old woman going 1.5 miles an hour, but it still took almost 2 weeks. And the process was fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. And I fought it, of course, just like everybody does. I tried to come up with excuses. I said my mom was in a car accident when I was a kid. It changed her life. I don't think I could be fair on this. But at the end of the day, I ended up going for the defense on this more than the prosecution. Or the plaintiff, sorry. It was criminal. It was...
If... you're looking to get out of jury duty on a somewhat unrelated subject, can you use I haven't been vaccinated as an excuse to get out of jury duty?
Oh, another reason to hold out, huh?
Whoa. Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
This is a busy time for plumbers, right? You get everybody over at the house, but this year, is it going to be as busy as it typically would be because of...
Not as many people using one toilet.
I mean, unless you're the plumber for French Laundry, I mean, you're really not...
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ.
You know, I'm a cheapie. I'm a cheapie.
Can we just call you a cheapskate?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm cheap. I will... And my cheapness makes me a DIY warrior.
I mean, you were so cheap back in college, you didn't even take showers because you didn't want to spend the money on the water. You just used Febreze.
Sometimes. Well, that was a convenience.
You shopped at thrift stores to save money on clothes.
It wasn't name brand Febreze either. It was like dollar store Febreze.
You drank the cheapest beer like Busch Light.
Of course. Come on. I would splurge. I would start the evening with a kokanee.
And you had food stamps, which I thought at the time was pathetic. And then actually after I enjoyed some of the
food stamp
fruits
offerings
of your labor and offerings.
Yeah, as a college kid, you don't make much money.
And you know what? We were working part-time jobs, putting ourselves through college. Of course, those are the people that should qualify for food stamps. And I look back at it, I should have taken advantage of that.
I never told you like the real reason why I got the food stamps. The real reason why I got the food stamps is because I wanted to be able to say truthfully on our radio show at that time
that you were on food stamps?
That I was on food stamps because I figured it would embarrass the owner into giving me a raise so I wouldn't have to be in food stamps.
Oh, they paid us $7 an hour. We did this show. We did this show for I shouldn't say that now, but we started out. We worked for a mom, a husband and wife.
Raise. He gave me a raise to like $1.25. Which actually bumped me up into a different income level, so I got a lot less on the food stamp.
You made $8.25? I think I was only making
$9.25.
You made $9.25?
We both got the raise. You were making $9.25.
Anyways, we started at 7, then we got to $9.25 an hour. For God's sakes, I mean, come on, that would be nobody here at McDonald's work. People at McDonald's don't make $9.25.
Well, inflation, brother. At the time, I'm sure they were making around $9.25.
Yeah, we were making the same as you on fries with that guy, but whatever. We were getting to do the radio show and all that kind of stuff. But, you think about it. You were going to school. You were paying rent. Mm-hmm. You were putting yourself through school, paying your own rent, and you were working. And, yeah, I mean, come on.
It all lined up.
That's qualified. That's where it should go, not to people that just don't want to get a job.
Oh, it's just people that want to shame their employer into giving.
I'm not saying it's everybody, but we know there's people that are just working the system.
I was trying to work this system, but the owner of the radio station wasn't budging.
And the funny thing is, his wife, if you've ever seen Schitt's Creek, Mora?
Yeah.
His wife on there just reminded me of Susan, who was the wife of the owner. They own the radio station together. And she would shop at the fanciest stores online because we were in the middle of nowhere. We're in a small little town. And it would there would just be magazines and boxes showing up.
Than walking into work and having the owner's wife bragging about the elaborate purchases that she made, or him going on his yacht for a week,
or his race car, or his Bentley, or their Aston Martin. And they were older Bentleys and Aston Martins from the 80s and 90s, but this was probably the 80s, because this was the early 2000s, late 90s.
Hey, you ever had a corn dog?
Yeah, hey, thanks, boss. Thanks for that $9.25 an hour. Thanks for that bump. Thank you very much.
But I'm cheap. And yesterday, I splurged.
On what?
I think it ended up paying off on something that needed to get done around the house. I got to tell you what my plan was going into it.
This is an investment, though.
My plan going into it was to get as much information from the expert as possible without having to spend money.
Did you stop stealing rocks from the side of the road?
No. I'll do that till the day I die.
You didn't splurge on some rocks?
I'll do that till the day I die from a rattlesnake bite, a baby rattlesnake bite. But no, I went another route. I'll tell you about it coming up. It's great. And you know what?
Do you have any buyer's remorse after this big
Hell
splurge?
No. I mean, it is, in fact, in the long run, it's going to end up saving me a lot of headache and a lot of money and a lot of
this is quite a splurge.
Nagging from my wife, I would imagine. No, it's not a huge splurge, but it's great that I went this route, because I normally wouldn't go this route and it would get me in all kinds of trouble.
93.3 KZOZ.